Hey, what's up, creators? This is John, and you have once again found the Sketch Magazine podcast. I am here, as always, with publisher Bob Hickey, editor Bill Nichols, and today we are talking about motivation. I sound highly motivated, don't I? Of course I do. How you doing, guys? But they're not.
Oh, I see. That's your strategy. Just let it hang out there. And I'll. This is Bill, and the absent one is Bob,
I'm here.
who's trying to make me talk.
Bob
So,
the Quiet.
That's right.
what? Excuse me.
Well, John, we just got done wrapping up our first ever Skystorm podcast.
Woohoo,
This
I'm
one,
impressed.
So, hey, it made Bill talk.
Wow,
So,
cool. I'll actually have to listen to that one since I'm not on it.
it was short, but it was a nice intro. Sort of talk about what we got going on, Skystorm. So it was cool. It'll go live once the site goes live 1st of February. Or early February. I shouldn't set an exact date on it, but
No, you committed yourself February 1st. Get
now I
on.
gotta work 24/7 now.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
dang.
Got to add more hours into the day.
Right. So, what are we talking about tonight, guys?
So, motivation. Why the heck would anybody want to be motivated?
This coming from a teacher.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. What about that?
What about all that? But, so motivation, well, of course, motivation in comics and from a comic creator standpoint is what we should be addressing here. So, how about that? How do you get motivated as a creator, as someone who has to sit in front of a blank piece of paper and try to make magic come out of it? How does that happen?
Well, I think it starts with a creative spark. Whether it's an idea, you have a story, or you have a character, and you go from there and you build. Whether it's the backstory, the future story, your plans for that character or property, or whatever it is that you have going. It starts with that spark, and motivation is the fuel that fuels it and makes it grow into a burning flame.
The burning ring of fire, as they call it. But what happens if you don't have the spark? How do you get yourself motivated? Because let's face it, this is an industry that has deadlines. This is an industry that, the time is not the creator's own. He is on the clock, as they say. So, how can you get motivated when it just isn't happening?
Well, sometimes that motivation really just has to do with, in that case, where you don't feel inspired, where it's something that you have to do. It has to be maybe a routine, or maybe a habit, or something that, a sort of work ethic, because in doing that, in not so much, it's sort of a physical mantra where you maybe approach a page, if you're inking or penciling or whatever, or writing. Sometimes it's hard to get into that groove, but sometimes it's just getting started. If you can get started, the rest of it can sort of fall into place, and then you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and that becomes a motivation for some people. Seeing the end of one page, or even one panel, sometimes if you want to break it down into smaller chunks, make it bite size, get through that, go to the next, because there are other things waiting for you to to be worked on. More stories out there to be written, more things out there to be drawn, more letters, more colors, more printed comics. Because then once you have it done, or once you have it in place, we have other things like conventions and promotions, and that kind of thing. So sometimes you have to find your own motivation. What is your motivation really for doing anything? Is it a job? Is it just a job? Or is it something that does feed your creativity, something that does come from within? And just needs to get out. So I mean, that varies with people, because I know people on both ends of that spectrum, where creating just is almost a habit or a routine, because they know their stuff so well, whether it's mechanics or uh, maybe their own styles or whatever, that they can just sort of not so much go through the paces, but get it done and get it down and then get it out.
Well, some of it is knowing the properties you're working on too, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
If I need to sit down and write a B&R story, I can sit here and with a little effort and come up with something new. You know, and because I know those characters and I know if I throw them into this situation, what are they going to do to get out of it? You know, and then where's that going to bounce them? So definitely, if you know your property, whether it's your writing or if you're drawing, and you know those characters. I know a lot of artists doodle, sketch, ink, play with different types of. Maybe they're not an art mark artist, but they play with markers, sort of get loosened up before they really get serious into doing some drawing. I sketch a lot before I would do any drawing. Probably don't warm up as much as inks. I just dive right into inks and crank them. Um, but yeah, definitely knowing your property is a huge plus. Be able to dive into it. I've been building the Skystorm site and just looking at the history and the amount of stuff we've created over the past 20 years, John, not 30 or 40.
50?
50, no, 20. Um, I'm amazed at how much we've produced. I'm like, I can't wait to get this stuff out digitally. Can't wait to get some of it back in print. We gave Greg Land, who's now drawing X-Men, his first job. We gave Renee Delise, who just did the last Unicorn for IDW, we gave her one of her earlier jobs. And that's recent. So, it's cool to see what these creators have contributed to Skystorm. And the amount of stuff that we had in the works that we just sort of shelved that now we're going to finish. So that motivates me. Not only to see this stuff out, motivate me to create new stuff and push the boundaries. So also playing off of other people. John or Bill, I've called you to play off ideas off of you.
Hmm.
I think that really works. What do you think?
Yeah, because you get that, not so much putting something out there in a vacuum, but you get something maybe back where you say, well, does this work, or is there a way to make it work? 'Cause like with Clay's Way or something, where you have written dialogue or something, it's like, this is what I want to say, but does it work? And then we tinker with it. But uh, same things with story ideas, where you can get something back, and it's almost like here's the when I was in theater, if I was a stage manager or a director or whatever, one of the notes I would give actors was to listen to themselves on tape. Do their dialogue, listen to themselves on tape, because when you hear yourself, you hear it's like listening to somebody else talk in a lot of ways, because you don't sound the way you do, and your ideas are sort of like that, where when you hear it back from somebody else, um, it doesn't sound quite, even if they were to just to tell you verbatim what you just told them, it sounds a little different, and you can sort of get a little objectivity there. It's fun to have somebody to play off of, to bounce ideas off of, and you can mutually feed on each other's creative energies, and again, fuel those energies, because you just get jazzed. And there's a certain feeling that you have sometimes, and I tend to call certain things magic. And sometimes when that idea or that thing is working, that's what it is. Or you have that creative bit of inspiration that it's like, yeah, yeah, okay, now I know what magic feels like. And I've had that,
Oh yeah.
and I hope a lot of people have. And if you haven't, don't think, oh my God, I don't feel the magic. I will never be a creator. I can't get motivated. To bring the podcast back to that, um, I mean, reactions are different for everybody, and your work ethic or your work methods are different. But it's what you get out of it, and like I said, working with somebody else gives you something back. It's not just talking to a wall and hearing it back, or hearing some aspect of that somebody else uh, hears in your story idea, maybe, or has a question or whatever, makes you think and builds. That doesn't really answer your question totally, but or even
No,
probably even not halfway, because it's a tangent.
Well, that's
no, that actually does.
yes, it does.
Um, and you all started to hit on this, but let's let's nail it down to
So
specifics.
you actually do listen when we talk, John?
Occasionally,
Okay, okay.
you know, I mean, I pull out every third word,
There you
so
go. Well, that's enough for us, though, right?
yeah, I at least get the general meaning. But um, what do you do personally, specifically, when it's just not happening? But you know that you have to get something done. You hit on some kind of broader issues, but what do you specifically as creators with decades of
Oh,
well,
you threw that in there,
least
didn't you?
at least 2 decades of creating experience in the comics industry. What do you do to get motivated, get past the hump? Do you chain yourself to the desk? Do you walk away? What do you do to get your brain where it needs to be to get the creation happening?
Bob.
Bob?
um, the worst thing I can do is chain myself to the desk, especially if I'm writing. Get out, and I don't mean driving. That's too much of a distraction. But I've got a nice backyard, trees and everything. I'll get out, and walk around, and think, and make a phone call. Maybe call Bill and see what's going on, and maybe not even talk about what I'm working on, but just sort of as a distraction, but yet it's still spinning inside there. Usually I can crank, and usually anything I'm working on, I've been thinking about long before I have to sit down and do something with it. In our earlier podcast for Skystorm, I brought up to Bill something I've been thinking about was asking Tom and Mary to come back and maybe write some more Skystorm or Storm Quest issues. So there I'm
Tom and
thinking
Mary
about
who?
Tom and Mary Beerbaum, who
Ah ha
wrote the
ha.
Legion of Superheroes for DC. They went on to write a lot of stuff out there for Image and other publishers. They wrote Storm Quest for me originally back in the day. Um, so I mean that's where I'm thinking way ahead and would like to. So if I got to sit down, if I got to write a BNR story or I got to write a Race Danger stories, there have been a lot of pre-thought on that story, and it ain't so much getting it started; it's stopping it where I need it to stop. is one of my hard points. Artwork now, wow, I will fill up books with sketches sometimes before I get something that I really like, and that's where my weakest point is, and something that I really hope to focus in the future is to start doing more art and more finished art. So, but I will doodle and draw and sketch and draw and sketch and maybe go ink something from Mitch Bird or something like that just to shake out the cobwebs.
And does that ever become the primary thing accidentally?
Inking that or
Or, when you start working on something, you start doodling and then you kind of get into it.
oh yeah.
Does that ever get in the way of you having to go back to the thing you meant to do?
Well, unfortunately, I have the ADHD, which means
Yeah.
I can get distracted real easily. Well, I'm working on the Skystorm side again, and there's a poster that has these jam characters we did a long time ago, and some of the characters I no longer am involved in. And I got removing some of them out of the posters. I got looking at one, and then I drew it off, and I pulled it out and I revised it, redrew it, and came up with a whole different character. And I'm off making notes about this character and doing that, and totally forgot that I was working on the poster
Yeah.
until like the next day. And I'm telling Bill, "Hey, I got this idea for character. I think you were involved, and I want to do this, and call it that." And totally, yesterday I sat down and said, "What did I ever do with that poster? Oh, I never finished it." So yeah, definitely. Having ADHD, it can be exciting because your mind just runs, but you can definitely drop the ball on stuff too. You gotta be careful. So
How
to
about you?
answer your question, yes, I can get
Yes.
distracted.
How about you, Bill?
Yeah, one of the things that we've touched on before is sometimes I have, and I do it on, talk about it on my website, Comics Mentor. Uh, my brain is always running, and I've likened it to uh, a river, and the mighty Mississippi River, where it may be low and slow and lazy on the surface, but underneath the surface, all those ideas and all those things are fish, and my fish always swim. So I use that analogy, and I've noticed that other people pick it up, and that's cool. And everybody is free to use that if they need to, because I explained that to someone near and dear to me a few years ago, and that she sort of understood it
Mhm.
at that point. But because she liked analogies,
Okay,
and
so
that was
if
one that
yours is
worked.
a
But
slow-moving river, mine must be like rapids then, right? On the
yeah,
outside?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're the
Okay.
oh yeah, you're whitewater rafting.
Okay, right. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, but I have at any given time, I probably have uh, not just and you could factor in everyday things like uh, situations or worries or concerns or just thoughts, random thoughts. But then you throw in you know, uh, I think about Blood and Roses, and I think about all the Skystorm stuff too, and my own Sparta Bay stuff. Sometimes the stuff just throws in, just jumps in where it's I'm maybe not even thinking about it, and something will pop out, and get an idea. And if I'm able, I will write that down. Sometimes I don't because I might be driving, or or I'll just It's like when you wake up from a dream and you can remember the dream about the time it takes you to turn your alarm clock off, and it's like, what was I dreaming again? Because that was really cool. But um, yeah, I get distracted just because there's so many things that can occupy my attention. That's why I need deadlines and something definite. Like if I need to do something today, I'd rather know that I need to do it today, so that makes it more pressing, so that it sort of puts the blinders up and I can focus on that. And sometimes music also reinforces that, or listening to something, not watching TV or whatever. But um, I'm easily distracted on that, just because there's so much. It's like instead of one surface looking at one painting, I'm looking at maybe a mosaic, and I've got all the tiles there, and each tile is its own little picture. It's like that picture of Abraham Lincoln, or these photographs, and all the little each each little, not it's not a pixel, but there's like a little tiny small picture, and the artist has taken all these pictures of Abraham Lincoln and made one huge picture of his face.
Right.
Um,
What is that
if
called?
you're talking, I don't know, but it's cool.
It is.
I think it's called photo mosaic.
That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, I like it. Yeah, I mean, if it's or Lady Diana. I've seen one of Lady Diana too.
Yeah.
So, but I think hers was made of flowers, the one I saw. So each thing is its own. It's all part of the big picture, but each thing has its own picture, and own story. It demands its own attention sometimes, and sometimes I listen to that. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just give in and go, "Yep, okay." And then sometimes to be honest, I get overwhelmed and I just shut it all out. Then I'll go just watch TV for a while, or I'll read, or I'll do something else. Um, just because there's so much of it. And that's when discipline and other stuff has to come into play. But it doesn't always work. Doesn't I've talked to other people through Comics Mentor and other other outlets. Other people have the same situation, especially creative people, because you have all that energy, and sometimes it begs to be used. And sometimes when it's used by several different, like I said, several different projects or ideas at one time. So if I'm stuck on something, um, I always have something else I can jump to if I wanted to. And if I am stuck on something, at a point where I can't go any farther, uh, I've just hit a wall. I'll do something else. And
Hold on, we lost Bill.
Well, my main point is before this was dropped was that I get distracted. It is easy to do, especially when you have so many things going on. If you do get distracted, you can always just deal with it, or however works best for you. But don't give up. That's the whole thing. Is don't give up. I know some people who do get to that point where they don't know where to go, whether it's worries or whatever, and they're ready to give up. And I've been there too, because it's almost like all these things are taking away energy and you have nothing left over.
Mm.
But then out of actually doing something, whether it's taking one thing at a time or getting something done out of that, then you can you make some progress and you get to the next thing that you have to do. So it can be self-perpetuating. So that was my main point.
That was your main point. You slightly touched on something and then you drove away from it that it may be a little off topic, but I don't think it is a lot. What does your space look like when you're trying to create? You both have mentioned the word distraction a lot this evening. What does your creative space look like as far as amount of distractions or lack of distraction, and how does that keep you generally motivated?
Well,
Stump the panel.
yeah, she did. Actually, in the past, I've always had lots of music going on or playing DVDs, especially if it's artwork. I won't. I personally won't watch DVDs or listen to music that I will listen to soundtracks if I'm writing, but that's it. Too much of a distraction. But soundtracks are cool. Here recently, actually just in the past couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of web design. Quiet. I've kept everything quiet, and I've really found that it's helped me focus. No drifting, no music, no movies, no nothing. I'm just sitting here coding and scanning, and it's been so it's definitely my future way of doing it is keeping it more quiet around me as I'm working. Um, as far as the area that I work in, I definitely have a montage at the moment of computer stuff. Right now I'm working out of a home office. It's about 6 by 10, 6 by 12, and within this area, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 computers, 2 scanners. Extra, I got everything. You remember what my big office was like? Most
Yeah.
of the computer stuff is in here.
Wow.
Hodgepodge on little desks and tables, but it's workable. I have to move stuff around. When I have to do art at the moment, I break that out into the kitchen. I'm back on the kitchen table cranking out. It's sort of fun, but I do have in storage my huge art table, which you guys like, and all that, which is hopefully be moving into my new office here real soon. And I have a whole area that I keep just all the art stuff, so I can sit down and just crank it out. So now art, when I'm making Claysway, I can sit right in there in the middle of the family. They're watching their shows, and I can ink away. I have no problems with that.
Yeah, I've seen you ink at conventions, so.
Yep. I can ink. I have no problems. One thing, when I went to tech school And I got into doing art. You got used to people being around you, commenting, conversations like that. I sort of enjoy that actually. It was sort of fun inking down in Atlanta. I inked 8 strips, and it was fun being around people,
Yeah.
chatting it up. Um, can you get more work done? If I needed to crank out a ton of strips by myself, yeah, boom, 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 done. But I like being around people a lot of times. When I'm just doing the inking, when I'm penciling, not so much. But the ink part I like to do. Coloring, you're back on the computer. So right now, I do a little marker coloring, little washes, but mostly it's all computer stuff. So same computer stuff that I do the writing and design on. How about you, Bill?
Well, I mean, I have a desk and I have a drawing table, and I have stuff surrounding me like assorted comics pages to ink and notebooks with story things to if I get an idea or if I need to work on something. So I have and I mean, I have a bookshelf with books on it and that kind of thing. So sometimes that could be with so much there that's handy. It's like, what can I do now? Uh, what should I do now? And to me, that actually is just a little aggravating sometimes, just because there are so many things that I could be doing or want to do, and uh, that's why I said deadlines
Mm-hmm.
or having a definite plan, whether it's write down whatever it is for that day. I want to ink this panel or these panels or get this page finished, uh, because it gives me a direction, and then I don't tend to veer away from that as much
Now,
or be distracted. So
do you see deadlines as a way to help keep you motivated then?
yeah, yeah, because then that sort of if you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel,
Uh-huh.
having a deadline it's like somebody shining a flashlight saying, "Over here, there you go."
Right.
So yeah, I mean that is it is a motivating thing because it makes it a little bit more pressing. Now it can you know work against you if you let it, but if you take the mindset that it's there to help you, then not so much.
Right.
A lot of it about it is mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's with that or anything else.
How do either of you do with visual distraction? Like I know you were saying, Bob, you don't really have the studio set up yet, but I do remember in your old office there were
Mm-hmm.
posters, the action figures,
Oh,
graphic novels.
man, I got
Um,
more toys than my kids do, man.
well, that's what I mean. Yeah, that, and I know over time, Bill's got quite a few different things like that set up too. Does that provide a distraction, or do you look at that and get some inspiration, or how does that all work?
Well, my computer monitor I'm sitting there staring at right now, I got these little round-headed Marvel figures that had little bodies on them. I don't know if you saw them
Oh
in the
yeah,
store. Well, I got the whole set. I got them set all over my monitor here. They're all over the place. I don't play with them. They're there. They're cool. To me, I look at it. I go, Marvel. Hmm. Keeps me motivated, I guess. More
right,
motivation. I want my own Skystorm ball-headed action figures. You know what I mean? Uh,
right, yeah,
now what you didn't see in the studio was like Marvel, DC, MH posters up on the walls. When I had I think we at that last The Office, I had the Blood and Roses original paintings from Brad Gorby, Derek
right, yeah,
Gross framed up on the wall. Those were like, yeah, those are memories, and those are good. I had the Warlay shield up that I hadn't had up in a long time, the actual big, real shield that we had made.
yeah.
So it was fun getting that stuff back out and hanging it up in the office, and I can't wait to get the new office and get it hung up too. Um, so the motivation, I would say I do. I still, right now when I was in New York and talked to Scott Kurtz, I bought a set of his action figures, his DIY action figures, old toys.
Hmm.
They're sitting there on a shelf. I like to get those out. Um, motivation both ways. Motivation is that I see what somebody else is doing, I want to do it, and then I see what we've done in the past. I'm very proud of it, and want to create more. tell my wife, I want to entertain. I want to share. I want to make stuff and make more and more and more and let it build and have fun. And I've always had an enjoyment working with other creators. You know, you, John, Bill, and everybody else down the road. It's fun sharing this and creating together. And I just knocked something off the back of my desk. So hopefully it doesn't.
So there's too much confusion around you.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's to me it's motivational keeping this stuff around both ways. That was just some disc. We're good.
Okay, good. So where are you on that one, Bill? As far as visual, you know, I've heard you say in the past that you like music, or you might have the TV going on in the background, or something like that. But how are you on visual confusion around you?
Confusion.
Well,
Confusion or just visual noise around you.
If I'm inking, I can have the TV on, but if I'm writing, that is a distraction. Years ago, Bob turned me on to soundtracks, and you know, when I was doing some things, because the feel of the music can sort of spur you on to, especially if you're writing a certain kind of scene or whatever. And then sometimes there's just too much, but I don't have a lot up on the walls at this point because I want to add more bookshelves and stuff. So, because I still have books packed up. But to me, having books, that's a comfort to me because I like it. I've always, you know, loved books, and that sort of inspires me because, you know, I want to write some of our stuff as books too, or stories or whatever. Which, you know, like the Hell Girl piece that Bob showed me a cover of earlier. That stuff motivates me because that's it's not a done deal, but it's pretty, you know, it's getting pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a finished product in some ways, and you know,
let them know what it is. Go ahead and put a plug out there.
Well, years ago I wrote a Hell Girl story. I sometimes I write comic stories as prose. I write prose, whether it's the story that I'm working on, but I will add extra stuff to it. But in this case, I wrote a Hell Girl story that sort of went through the members of her band. She's a lead singer in a rock band, and
they end up in hell.
Right.
And the comic is sort of her point of view.
Right. And the story was more about each one of them. Yeah. And I'm not... I rewrote that and added a little bit more to it and evened it out a little bit. Also, in the years since, a little bit of Hell Girl in there too, more stuff that we knew. So we took that, and you took it and added some art, added cover, and it's a novelette.
Yes.
So then that will be on we're going to give that away for free on the Skystorm Studio site when it goes live.
Oh, nice.
So, and there'll be more. I mean, stuff like Bob said earlier that gets him going to work on his stuff, right. You know, to write more stuff. And, you know, that's one of those cases where it motivates mutually. And then hopefully other people will go, you know, that's pretty cool. I'm going to do that too, whether it's on their stuff or, you know, whatever.
And the thing is that there's a market out there digitally for books, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And we don't always have to have pictures with them. And,
heck yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Trust me.
I know. And
my wife.
Well, true. Yeah, my mom reads a ton of books.
Yeah, my wife, since I got her the iPad, has been filling hers with the books. So, yeah.
So that's another area where, not so much a novelette, because it's a real short story, something that we'd have to sell directly. But when we get more into the pages, it's something we can take through our same digital distributors and offer. And with a new property, Camelot Forever, I'm working with Eddie, there was a problem I had with a character in the story that I did not want that character in the main story. He's a major part of the history of Camelot, and I came up with a way to like this character now, not so much bring him into the comic, but to show what I believe happened to him in the past. So I don't want to wait and draw that to keep the comic from going. So I'm going to write it as a novel, a short novel. Like the old dime store, I call them dime store novels, 150, 200 pages, like the old Doc Savages and stuff.
Right.
And now with digital distributing, I'm even more pumped. And then I got to read Hellgirl last week and set that up. So now I'm really pumped to get it. So I'm talking about motivation. I've already roughed out a cover for it, started making notes for it. So I got motivated working on bills, throwing that together for the Skystorm site, and definitely want to get writing on it. And so it got me motivated. And it's there again. I'm not going to have a problem sitting down writing it because it's a story that I've been writing in the back of my head for a while now.
So, in fact, you motivate each other.
There again, we sort of play off each other, but Bill had no clue he was motivating me.
Right.
So that's sort of cool. You can pick out, and you can do the same thing with creators that you enjoy. I know some people read other people's books, not so much to pull from them or anything, but just there's somebody they enjoy. They sit back, they enjoy it, and then they're like, all right, now it's time for me to create my way. Boom, they're out there creating.
So that so it might actually help a creator if they get someone else to create with, to maybe bounce their ideas. To maybe not necessarily to do the book with, but at least have a sounding board that will motivate you to think differently or to do different things. And it can't really be like family, because family tends to say, oh, that's great, that's fantastic, that's fabulous.
Pat you on top of the head and send you on your way.
Pat you exactly. Give you a cookie and a glass of milk and send you on.
Yeah.
But someone to challenge you when you're wrong and keep you motivated when you're headed in the right direction.
Right.
And before we get too far away from this, you mentioned soundtracks real quick. The soundtrack that really does it for you when you listen to soundtracks. Do you have one that you really enjoy or that really gets you going?
Why did I know you were going to ask that? I started opening up my iTunes earlier.
Yeah, I heard you type.
Dragonheart.
Dragonheart. I assume these are non-lyric.
Yeah, they're mostly soundtracks and
orchestral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragonheart. I think it's Dragonheart. I tried to open my tune.
Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of build. I like songs that sort of goes on and then there's a crescendo, like big build up, and then it releases back down. And I don't know if I ride the waves of that or not, but definitely is. Man, iTunes updates like every other day, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Definitely one that I listen to a lot. Gladiator's another one that I would listen to. Same type of thing. Big build up.
Like John Williams stuff, generally,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Randy Elderman. He's done. Hans Zimmer did the Gladiator one. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are guys I like listening to. Not so much ones with words. Mostly, movie soundtracks. Not Disney, but they have a lot of breakout and song type of stuff.
You got one that does it for you, Bill?
I used to have the Dragonheart soundtrack, and I really actually just need to replenish my my musical library. I just have a few things on there, but sometimes I listen to like Celtic music or the chorus or something. There's words there, but it's the instruments coming in, and so it sometimes that does it for me. But I really like the Dragonheart. I have Lord of the Rings,
right?
So if I need that music fix, then I have that. But those are two good ones for me, especially the Dragonheart. I do like Bob. I like the things where it builds, and you get swept up in that, and all of a sudden your heart just lifts, and you go, okay.
I used to play that at shows, and people would come up and ask me, "What is that?" I'd have it just play in the background at the booth, and people, "What is that soundtrack?" Because it was a nice background sound. Nowadays you
Well,
can't do it.
didn't you have the Babylon 5?
Oh yeah, that's another one I
know,
listen to. That's a lot of
I ha-
electronic music. Babylon
yeah,
5 was early on doing a lot of electronics, but yes, you're correct. I do listen to that also.
yes, I remember.
I haven't done much writing lately, so I've got to get back into that. Get my soundtracks back out. Well, flip on my tunes. I have them all on my tunes. Katie, my wife, she just got her iTunes put on her new laptop, and she has been busting her CDs. I mean, the girl must have 500 CDs. So I'm like, you're gonna crash your laptop. She's put them all on her laptop.
Oh wow.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'm gonna have to get her a backup drive now, just make sure she doesn't lose them.
I was about to say you need to get her a terabyte drive
Yep,
real quick.
yep. But yeah, I love iTunes. It's right here with me when I'm working. So we'll give Tunes a big plug.
There you go, iTunes, like they need the money.
iTunes, the motivator.
That's right, iTunes is motivation. Well, speaking of motivation, I think we covered it fairly well. Do you all have any closing thoughts on motivation this evening?
The only thing I say is just get out there and do it, even when it doesn't feel right. It will feel right if this is something that you want to do. Give the time a lot of time. If you need to walk away, that's not, you didn't lose the battle. You did create something, whether you believe it then or not. There's many times I'll come back and look at something I did and thought, oh man, this is nothing. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, maybe it just needs this tweak. Or maybe if I took this twist in a story, it ends up being a great concept. So, well, at least I think it was a great concept. Um, so, just stay motivated, stay producing. We've got a great future ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Cool. Got anything, Bill?
Well, along those same lines, I would just say that no matter what, whether it is you're stalled at a story point, or you're not feeling creative at the moment, or personal issues or whatever they may be are getting on you, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your life, capital L. Don't give up on your comics, and keep at it, because you will get through that. You just have to stay the course. I keep having these sailing imagery.
What is it about you and water?
I don't
Gonna
know.
have to start calling him Captain.
Captain Bill.
Well, while we have you being all nautical and everything, and playing, and kind of shaking up the format a little bit, what's going on over at Comics Mentor these days?
It's about
Boats.
let's see.
Is it?
No.
No.
No boats.
No
I need
boats.
to go back and maybe write one in and just stick some boat imagery in there.
Maybe so. Whistle the Irish Spring thing while you're doing it.
I've been dealing with some of these same things that we've been talking about, with so many things going on that something suffers. And the past, say, 2 weeks or so, it's been Comics Mentor in some ways. I try to post and stuff, but I do. Once again, when I write a post of encouragement or advice or whatever, just know that I'm always talking to me first. I keep saying it, but I don't want somebody to go, yeah, well, who's he? What's he? What kind of But I follow my own advice to a point, but that's what I try to do. And if somebody else benefits from that, then I'm good. But just the other day, it was "Don't Get Overwhelmed" was the title of one, and it was brought on by all these things that some of it is personal, some of it is creative, some of it is work related, just in general. Um, I have those issues going on too. Everybody I know in some way has something going on, and it's how you deal with it, or how you decide that you're going to deal with it. Whether you're going to avoid it, and it's still going to be there, or you're going to address it. It may still be there, but you're in the process of getting it out of the way so that you can move on to the next phase of your day, your page, your project, your whatever. So don't get overwhelmed. Don't give up. Keep at it. And I have people that respond to those posts, and they have the same. Some of them have the same issues, or they feel like they feel that I'm talking to them, and that is great because that's the point. Is that if somebody else benefits from that, um, then that is a teaching moment, and I'm good with that. You know, that is a blessing to me to be able to help somebody else or give someone else insight. It's just like it's sort of like collaboration in a way, or mutual creativity. You have somebody else to sound an idea or a thought or a problem off of, and you get that back, and you may see it in a different way, or they may see something in a different way, and you can go from there, because then you have maybe some other tool that you can use, whether it is another person's advice or another person's. Uh, maybe they see something in that you don't. Maybe you just can't see it because you see the forest, you don't see the trees. Okay, there's a forest imagery. Now, I'm a forest ranger. So
Captain
that's been,
and Ranger.
yeah, and that's pretty much been Comics Mentor over the last few days. So
Nice.
Cool.
And do you have anything else to add to what you're doing with Sketch Magazine right now, Bob, or move straight on to Clay's Way?
Well, both are sort of sketch. I get Bill and I are working on the next issue of Sketch. We have been, but we had a few problems, but we're gonna get knocked out. Clay's Way, we took our first break this week since we launched it, so we went 14 weeks without a break. I've been heavily working on Skystorm site. It's a lot of programming. Programming and coding doesn't come easy to me. I'm an artist, but I can do it. But I have to stay focused, and so we've actually done. That's I've been working on it, and we've actually cut 3 podcasts this week. So those are the things I've been working on. Skystorm site should go live early February. I think a lot of people are going to be amazed with all the stuff that we've created in the past and what we got to work in the future. So Clay's Way will be back Monday. We've got Jackie's got me, I think, 10 strips sitting here. I will be inking all weekend, coloring. Bill will be editing for me. We will crank it. Hopefully, we don't have to take another break. Cool thing about the break is I posted, the sketch cards artwork up and just said, hey, got to take a little break. We'll be back. A friend of mine who worked in my studio, and Bill, you might remember him, Steve Staglin, did Boondoggle.
yes,
I love that book.
Yeah, him and I have been in contact through Facebook, off and on, just chatting, and he offered to do a guest strip or a couple guest strips for future breaks. So he's going to write and draw a couple Clay's Way strips. He's got kids, and we'll write them in the future when Jackie and I need to take a breather or in between some storylines or something. So it's sort of cool. I've seen other strips like PvP and other strips like that who takes breaks and Girls with Slingshots and have guest artists in, but I never thought about it for Clay's Way, mentioned to Katie, and she thought it was cool, and I mentioned to Jackie, and I'm like, ooh, and she thinks it's neat. Oh, that'd be great to see somebody else take on it. So out of this, we're gonna get a take on see how Steve handles the characters. But that will be down the road. Right now, Jackie and I've got 2 strips that are a single, and then we jump into a 6-strip storyline introducing Clay's new nemesis, Isabel. She will be a pain in his butt for a long time. Then we got a couple single strip storylines, and we jump into the next one, which is called Casualty. So what we're trying to do is bust up some one dayers along with some story stuff, and we're still getting our legs under it, but we're having a lot of fun. Jackie's going to be coloring a piece of artwork that we're going to use in merchandising, and she's going to do it on live stream, so we'll be posting it as soon as she finishes it. She wants to take a stab at the coloring and everything, so we're having a lot of fun with it. Blue Line, hanging in there, had a great holiday. Newsletters be cranking back out next week. If you need any art stuff, go to bluelinepro.com.
All right, and speaking of art, brings me to the sketch blog.
There you go.
We through the magic of podcasting, we were actually here not long ago, but there has been a few things that I've posted since. I don't know if everybody caught it, but a while back I did a review of Brian Hitch's ultimate. I can't quite remember
His
the
art
name.
book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
his art
Uh-huh.
book, his ultimate comic book book, which I really enjoyed. And
Well, didn't you learn a new word from that book?
yeah, the
There it
verisimilitude.
is.
I like that part a lot. Yeah. But anyway, there's this guy on YouTube named Jonathan who does quite a few art posts himself. I think he's up to number 43 or 44 right now. He learned a new trick from that book where he does his layouts in full size using colored pencils. He uses blue pencil for one stage of his layout, red pencil for another stage, and green for another. And that has really helped him in his layout process. So there's a somewhat extended video of that, and then there's another video of someone doing an extended tutorial on the basics of drawing females using just an HB pencil. So it's got kind of a dichotomy there of two different art styles or two different ways of working. Then, by request from the same person who asked for the things on French curves, he also asked for a thing on Manga Studio EX4, which isn't necessarily something I'm familiar with, but it is a piece of software that has become fairly popular with a lot of people. And it's somewhat more affordable than Photoshop, so
Right.
I did find a fairly good tutorial on that as well.
Didn't Brian Boland ink in Manga Studio? Seems like some
Um,
videos that you put up, he was using Manga Studio to ink in.
Yeah, I'm wanting to say
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't quite recall, but I'm wanting to say yeah, or he had done something in Manga Studio.
Mhm.
And then speaking of comics, I found this half-hour video from a show called What's Up With That, where they're talking about webcomics, and they talk to Phil Foglio,
Wow.
who does Girl Genius, and then a young lady named Shannon Garrity, who I'm not familiar with her strip, but it's an extended talk where they talk about webcomics, talk about their process of making webcomics, marketing webcomics, pretty much the whole nine yards. It's essentially a little show about webcomics, and it's about a half hour long. So uh, I suggest people go check it out. Phil Foglio's always fun to listen to and everything. And that catches us up on sketch right now.
Awesome. Anything? What's going on over at the community, Bill?
Well, we still have the at the end of the month on I think it's January 31st, the Despicable Me win that DVD contest, and you draw your favorite superhero or supervillain doing something heroic.
Cool.
So you can go to Comic Related, to the community, which is a forum, which is a message board, but we call it a community because that's what it is. That's the feel, that's the atmosphere. And go to the Sketch Magazine section, go to the podcast, or not podcast, but if you want to listen to this one, yeah, or comment.
Yeah, of course.
Go to the contest section, and there it is.
Right.
So click on that, click on every section that we have, and just find out what's going on with us.
Right.
Because we're interesting. Okay, not so much.
But you're right. They can also comment on the podcast or offer up questions there also.
Yeah, every podcast has its own topic thread. So if you like something, or if you have a question about something, or have ideas, feel free to join that board, and you'll find yourself hooked because there are all kinds of cool people on there, other creators on there, and I mean it's a great way to stay in touch, not only with us on the podcast, but with the magazine and everything else that we're doing too. So,
right.
And you can check out Sketch Magazine at comicrelated.com. See?
Yeah.
There we
See
go.
Where that's all going? It's all connected.
Full circle. Wow.
Right.
It's synchronicity.
That's right.
Stay motivated.
Right.
Okay.
Or we'll smack you.
That's right. John will. So, John, how can they find you?
They can always find me at john@sketchmagazine.net or john@comicrelated.com.
Bill.
Smoke signals.
Over water, right?
Yeah, or a homing pigeon.
Or they can email me at comicsmentor@gmail.com or go to comicsmentor.com or go to the Comic Related forum community and hang out there.
All right.
So.
Yeah. They can catch me.
Or come see me and I'll tell him how to get to your house.
True.
John,
Uh,
I know how to get to your house too.
no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do.
Darn it, you do, right?
Yeah.
We ain't going to nobody's house. And we don't do all this in one room either. Yes, we're all in different cities at the moment. Sorry to burst the bubble.
What?
Yeah,
What?
we only did that one time, and it's really cool, and we got photos to prove it, that we're all in the same
That's
room.
true.
So,
We really do exist.
yes. You can catch me at bobh@bluelinepro.com, or you can email all of us at podcast@sketchmagazine.net. Guys, this has been good. I worried at the beginning what we're going to do. I'm motivated. So
There you go. Go create
I
something
think it's going
now.
to be a good weekend for me.
I think I'm going to ink because I have a Copic refiller. So I'm awesome.
All right.
Nice.
You're motivated.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.